Jacob Miller was a simple farmer living in the small village of Greenfield. He had inherited a small piece of land from his father, just enough to grow crops for his family. Jacob was hardworking and determined, but deep inside, he had a dream. He wanted to turn his small farm into something bigger, something that could provide a better life for his wife, Emily, and their 2 children, Sam and Lily. Every morning, Jacob woke up before sunrise, worked tirelessly on the field, and came home exhausted. But no matter how hard he worked, the income from his farm was barely enough to survive. He often saw rich landowners in the nearby town, selling large amounts of crops and living comfortably. He wondered why his efforts never seemed to take him closer to success. One evening, as he sat on the porch, staring at his small field, Emily joined him. "You work so hard, Jacob, but you always seem troubled," she said gently. "I feel stuck, Emily," Jacob admitted. "No matter how much effort I put in, it's never enough. I want to grow our farm, but I don't know how." Emily smiled. "Success doesn't come overnight. Maybe you need to learn new ways instead of just working harder." Her words stayed with Jacob. That night, he lay in bed thinking. He had been farming the same way his father did, but maybe times had changed. Maybe he needed to learn something new. The next morning, he decided to visit Mr. Harris, an experienced farmer in a neighboring village. Mr. Harris was known for his modern farming techniques and successful harvests. When Jacob reached his farm, he was amazed. The fields were lush and green, the cattle were healthy, and there were even beehives producing honey. Jacob greeted Mr. Harris and said, "I want to improve my farm, but I don't know where to start." Mr. Harris smiled. "Success in farming isn't just about working hard. It's about working smart. You need to understand your soil, plant the right crops, and find ways to protect them." Jacob listened carefully as Mr. Harris explained how he used crop rotation to keep the soil healthy, how he stored rainwater for dry seasons, and how he sold not just crops but also dairy products and honey. Excited, Jacob returned home with new ideas. He decided to take a risk and invest in better seeds. He also started keeping a few chickens so he could sell eggs. With the little savings he had, he built a small water storage system to prepare for dry months. At first, things seemed to improve. His crops grew better, and he earned extra money from selling eggs. But just when he thought he was making progress, disaster struck. A sudden drought hit the village, and many of his crops withered. The little money he had saved was spent on keeping his farm alive. He felt like he had taken one step forward, only to be pushed 2 steps back. One evening, as he sat in frustration, Emily placed a hand on his shoulder. "Jacob, failures are not the end. They are lessons. You've already learned new skills. Now, learn how to prepare for the worst." Jacob realized she was right. Instead of giving up, he studied ways to make his farm stronger against future droughts. He planted crops that required less water and built a better irrigation system. He also started beekeeping, which required less land but brought extra income. Over time, Jacob saw improvements. His farm slowly grew, and so did his knowledge. He faced many challenges, unexpected storms, market price drops, and even pests ruining his crops, but each time, he learned something new. Years passed, and Jacob's small farm turned into one of the most respected farms in Greenfield. People from nearby villages came to learn from him. Young farmers asked for his advice. Even Mr. Harris, the farmer who once guided him, praised his progress. One day, a young boy named Daniel came to him and asked, "Mr. Miller, how did you become so successful?" Jacob smiled. "Success is not a place you reach, Daniel. It's the journey. Every failure, every lesson, every step you take, that is success. It's not about having the biggest farm, it's about growing, learning, and never giving up." As Jacob stood on his land, watching his children help on the farm, he realized something important. Years ago, he had believed success was a final destination, a moment where he would have everything and never struggle again. But now he knew the truth. Success was not about reaching the end. It was about the journey, the experiences, and the growth along the way. And with that thought, he smiled, knowing his journey was still continuing.